Dear World Trade Center universe, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, depending where on earth you found yourself right now. This is the very first Centerpiece. I'm your host, Scott Center from World Trade Center Savannah, and I'm absolutely thrilled to bring you this pilot episode of our new broadcast newsroom live on LinkedIn and YouTube. And to celebrate, I'm wearing my beautiful Querétaro tie that I got at the General Assembly in Querétaro, Mexico. I'm drinking out of my cup that I got at the World Trade Center Louvarden at their fantastic General Assembly. I'll be taking notes on this meeting from this great book I got from the World Trade Center Algiers from their General Assembly. And I'll be using my own World Trade Center Savannah pen. So I'm very pleased to tell you that joining me today is my co-host, the notorious EAW, Ed Allison-Wright from World Trade Center Gibraltar, World Trade Center Madrid, World Trade Center London, World Trade Center Malaga, and a host of others, I'm afraid. Thank you, Ed, for joining me.
Thank you very much, Scott, and thanks for having me on this inaugural pilot. So if I've got this right, the WTCA is stepping up its game with its very own newsroom, and this show, the Centerpiece, will end up being a monthly roundup of the fantastic WTCA newsletter crafted by the talented Chanel at the World Trade Center's headquarters. Is that right?
You are correct, sir. And Chanel does this fantastic job with the newsletter. But here's the problem. We have a very low rate of opening emails, us as an organization. So because of that, we're coming to you right to your computer, and you're going to have to be subjected to Ed and I. And the very first one, what we're going to do, we're going to steal an idea from Trip Tollison from World Trade Center Savannah, who stole the idea from David Letterman, and we're going to give you a top 10 list of all the fantastic things that happened at World Trade Center Association over the past year. Ed, can you handle it?
Absolutely, Scott. And there have been a lot of remarkable achievements within 2023, so it'll be interesting to see if we can narrow it down to just 10.
It's going to be hard. All right, well, let's start off. I got to tip my hat off to the World Trade Center Accra for their General Assembly. It was top-notch, great, valuable information. And during the General Assembly, WTC Accra made a point of opening up not only Ghana to all of our members, but the entire continent of Africa. We even had a mayor from Savannah come, a state representative from Savannah. We actually had little old Savannah, Georgia, had the second largest delegation of any city in the whole network. We were only beaten by Denver. And darn you, Karen Gurwitz.
Of course you did. I mean, it's no surprise for you, Scott. And I heard you were also greeted by some lively dancers in the morning with all the sort of the cultural environment and ambience that World Trade Center Accra brings. I mean, it really did sound like a fantastic event. So hats off to Togbee, Adem, and the whole WTC Accra team.
It was a great greeting, and I heard that you were greeted at the Heathrow Airport by an overzealous border control agent with visa issues.
I was indeed. No comment. No comment.
All right. So next on the list, what I would have it, I would talk about the member forum in New York City. Since the whole backbone of the World Trade Center Association is our memberships, this event is for and about our members. And Crystal and her team just did a stellar job on this organization. And then they shared these renderings of the new WTCs that we got going on in Brazil. It was just eye-popping.
Yeah, I mean, literally, we've seen some of these come through the executive committee this year, and some of those World Trade Centers, particularly in Brazil, India, and Guyana, spell economic growth in big letters. So thanks very much also on that note, to Robin and his team as we continue to welcome the new World Trade Centers into our family. And it's a clear sign for anyone that folks see the value of having a World Trade Center in their city or economic hub.
Why didn't you give us Robin's last name? I was hoping you would teach me how to pronounce
you're going to spell that out, I think, a bit later on. It was definitely that was on your script, Scott.
Okay. Sorry. Well, when I think about the World Trade Center's overall state, the word that springs to mind is growth. We're not only increasing in numbers, but we're seeing higher member engagement, and that was evident to the board elections in September. We had 12 seats to fill, and we had 18 candidates. It was a great turnout. And you can see the whole gang on our website under the board of directors. And personally, I can tell you, having meeting with this group of directors, we have a very, very engaged, very devoted group on the board of directors, and the amount of time and effort they devote to this organization is makes me proud, and love spending time with them. It's really remarkable.
Yeah, I've got to mirror those views, Scott. And speaking of member engagement, the member advisory councils, or MACs as we like to abbreviate them to, are really generating interest within our network. So we've got the Real Estate MAC, Trade Services MAC, Conference and Exhibition MAC, and the Business Club MAC, and they're all drawing a lot of attention throughout the last year.
Yeah, these MACs have been chugging along with so many meetings, and speaking meetings, at least 3 meetings each in 2023, with over 20 participants in every single meeting. So to me, that is the absolute definition of member engagement.
What about the Globee Awards, though, as well, Scott? I mean, they were presented at the member forum, weren't they? 12 different awards. That's a clear sign of good engagement.
Yeah, and of course you're going to bring that up because you won an award. You put the real in real estate, right? It makes perfect sense because you have always been an advocate of the idea that a building with World Trade Center on the side is a rock solid investment. And you put your money where your mouth is too, Ed.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And to be honest, I think the great thing about our network is that we're not the only ones within that World Trade Center Association family that see the value. So it's fantastic to share such a common purpose with everyone within our network.
Well, what we've got to get the word out, and how we're doing that is a collaboration with the firm Jamie Scotto and Associates, no relation, and bringing JSA to help us craft promotional materials and elevate our brand was another highlight of 2023. Additionally, we've been working very closely with 7 regional PR agencies to cover our news from all corners of the globe, showcasing how our WTCA members benefit from being a part of the WTCO. Ed, let me ask you something. Can you guess how many stories made it to the media in the past year alone?
It's a tough
Just
one.
the past year.
Yeah. Okay. So. Okay.
I never said this was going to be easy, sir.
So let's say 365 days in a year. So 400. Wild guess.
That's a very interesting and very reasoned guess. However, it's totally wrong because we've had over 2,000 reaching a global audience of, wait for this, 2 billion that actually saw the articles. That's a fantastic achievement, and we're only talking about earned media for the WTCA Association alone. That does not take into consideration all of the local stories done by the individual World Trade Center associations in their home markets. Mm-hmm. That's amazing, isn't it, Ed?
Yeah, I mean, it really is. And so let me just recap on this. So we've covered the GA in Accra, the member forum in New York, new World Trade Center members, the full slate of board candidates, all fantastic candidates, over 400 hours of MAC meetings, 12 Globee Award winners, of which I was one, thankfully, and the hiring of JSA for branding, and over 2,000 regional and global stories. I'm losing count. I think, are we at 8 already, Scott?
I wasn't counting. I thought someone would figure that out later, but you got it right.
There's
just so much happening. It's hard to keep track. We can't forget about the regional advisory committees, councils, or the RACs, and 16 regional meetings held in 2023. That's in addition to all those other meetings, 16 RAC meetings. It's incredible to think that we didn't even have RACs just a few years back. This allows our World Trade Centers to tackle regional issues and bring them to the global stage. During the pandemic, it was particularly invaluable. Ed, I know you're very familiar with that. Can you bring us up to speed on your personal experience?
Yeah, well, you know what, Scott, the pandemic really sort of made me realize that I hadn't fully grasped the power of our global family until it hit, because we were learning from each other across best practice principles, sharing insights on how different regions were coping with the crisis as it unfolded. And personally, you know, as a company, we're a real estate developer, and we were overseeing COVID protocols for our group, which is the Fair Homes group of companies. And I was able to learn and implement lessons from the Asia Pacific and Middle Eastern World Trade Centers through our RAC, and implement those in Europe so that we could reopen our buildings safely And what was fantastic about it is that we could then impart that knowledge and information and best practice principles to North America and to Latin American World Trade Centers as well. So it really did encompass our global network in terms of best practice and sharing best practice principles amongst each other.
I have to say that the pandemic actually supercharged our network. We became so accustomed to meeting electronically that we were able to keep in constant touch with our brothers and sisters all around the globe. So, but back to the top 10. In 2023, we celebrated the 21st anniversary of the World Trade Center Association Day, and it's marked around the world by the local WTCAs. It was June 12th, which, as Pamela knows, in Manila is also Philippine Independence Day. And of course, as Luciana knows, in Brazil, that's Brazilian Valentine's Day. And it's also Superman Day and Peanut Butter Cookie Day. But those are just as important, right?
Of course it is. Like, it's International Beer Day as well on August the 2nd. But no, speaking of importance, Scott, it's a good point that you raised. So the board made a significant decision in 2023 regarding our annual gatherings. So since World Trade Center is all about global business and global business connections, we expanded our General Assembly to focus more on B2B or business-to-business meetings. So World Trade Center Accra put in a tremendous effort to facilitate these connections. So we've decided to rebrand our annual gathering to call it a Global Business Forum, or the GBF. But it's worth us noting for members that we still hold our official annual general meeting, which is this General Assembly. But the main focus will be creating those invaluable business connections, both inside and outside of our network.
And it's fantastic that the very first GBF is going to be held in Bengaluru, India. It's the fastest growing economy on earth. It's just exploding, and Vinette and his staff, I promise you it's going to be a great event. They're top-notch people, and I cannot wait to see all of you there. I'm so looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, Brigade, it's worth saying they're one of the leading real estate companies within that region, and it's another testament to the WTCA's growth that we have them within our network. And by the way, so Scott, you must be planning to bring a business delegation from Savannah, are you?
For shizzle, yeah, of course we'll be there. I booked my ticket over 2 months ago.
Fantastic. Well, I've got mine too. It's going to be epic.
Well, you got your visa as well, Ed?
Yeah, don't you worry.
Bengaluru has actually themed their Global Business Forum EPIC. And that stands for Empowering Progress Through Innovation and Collaboration.
Fantastic. So I used the right word. If I'm keeping track of all of this correctly, then, so we've already got more than 10 highlights, or maybe I've lost count. But another standout is obviously the tireless work of our board members, as you pointed out, and our fearless leader, John Drew.
Thanks for bringing that up, Ed. We are super fortunate to have John Drew as our chair during this time of growth. When you hear his story and how WTC Boston has played a pivotal role in the city's development, along with his investments in WTC Washington, WTC Dublin, it's clear that he understands the power of the WTC brand. He's a leading citizen in Boston and in the world, and the amount of time and the devotion that he gives to this organization is really a boom to us. And I want to thank you, John, from the bottom of my heart. I don't know where we'd be without you right now, but thank you for everything you do.
Yeah, I think we should all raise a glass to that one, Scott, certainly. And to John and all of the board members, to all the staff, the contractors, and to our fantastic family of World Trade Centers worldwide. We are truly blessed to have this global presence, and we're eager to welcome more members who see the value in joining our association. And we're all about growing with quality license holders who want to be part of a connecting business on a global scale and trade.
Well, Ed, Allison-Wright, thank you for joining me as co-host on this premier newsroom, the Centerpiece, and sharing the valuable accomplishments of the World Trade Centers Association.
Well, thank you very much, Scott, for the invitation. It's been a pleasure to be on this inaugural pilot, and I look forward to spreading the word about all of these great things our members will achieve in 2024. And see you in February 24 for our first The Centerpiece newsletter roundup.
Even though you didn't want it to be called Centerpiece, you wanted it to be called The Right Stuff. So I appreciate your good sport about that. And all of you World Trade Center people out there who can hear our voices, please feel free to contact us with any ideas, suggestions for future broadcasts. And I'm so looking forward to seeing everybody in India. So good night, good day, good morning to all of you out there. And I hope we pass the audition.